published 0453 EDT, 15 October 2017 updated 0453 EDT, 15 October 2017 The FA will this week be grilled in Parliament on Eni Alukos' claims of bullying and racism as pressure builds on boss Dan Ashworth. MPs want to know how it was investigated and why a report into women's manager Mark Sampsons' inappropriate relationship at the Bristol women's team went unread for 18 months. Sportsmails Ian Herbert examines the 5 crucial questions facing the FA this week. Alukos claims will inform plenty of the questions that will be asked throughout this weekWhy. Was FA Technical Director Dan Ashworth allowed to be a witness in his own inquiry into Eni Alukos' complaints? An independent report into Alukos' complaints by the respected barrister Katharine Newton criticized Ashworth for insisting that he be one of the main witnesses for the FA's initial internal investigation. Ashworth told Rachel Brace, the FA's director of HR, that, as he had been around the women's camp frequently, he felt he should make a few comments on Mark Sampson, the incident and the environment itself. Ashworth told Newton he was entitled to do this. Newton stated it was inappropriate. The FA subsequently found itself vulnerable to allegations that it had failed adequately to investigate a highly sensitive inquiry. Some of the money owed to Aluko by the FA is currently being withheld under their agreement, who sanctioned paying Aluko £80,000 to keep the inquiry into her complaint confidential. The England striker alleged, in an email to Ashworth and head of performance Dave Redden, that there was a culture of bullying and harassment in the women's setup, including racial and prejudicial connotations in the way Sampson addressed her and others. But, despite an independent report by Newton, a black barrister celebrated by the Legal 500 Guide to the Best Lawyers, Barristers, Solicitors in Law Firms as a real fighter in her work against discrimination, finding no racism or bullying, the FA paid up. Glenn says the money was to avoid disruption ahead of Euro 2017. But the payment undermines the credibility of the investigative process and makes it seem as if there was something to hide. The Lionesses achieved a measure of success under Sampson, but there are serious allegations as a new extended investigation into Alukos' claims shed new light on racism or bullying. Neither the FA nor Newton interviewed midfielder Drew Spence in the 2 initial inquiries. The FA said it did not know her identity. Yet Spence and Aluko were the only players of ethnicity in the England team at the 2013 China Cup. The absence of an interview with Spence weakened the credibility of the 2 inquiries. Newton has now interviewed her. Why has some of Alukos' initial £80,000 payout been withdrawn? The FA is withholding some of the money owed to Aluko right under the confidentiality agreement struck. The governing body gave the player permission to speak publicly about the facts of her case after the Daily Mail revealed details of the payout. But it is understood that her comments about what she sees as a culture of racism within some parts of the England setup have changed the picture. Any withholding of the sum heaps more ignominy on a governing body whose initial investigation was flawed. Sampson was backed up by Ashworth, who insisted he should be a witness to the inquiry. Why did it take 18 months for Martin Glenn to examine a report into Sampson's relationship with a player at Bristol Academy? Concerns were raised in 2014, several months after Sampson was appointed England women's manager, prompting an investigation by the FA's Safeguarding Investigations Unit. This concluded in March 2015, the month Glenn was appointed chief executive. Glenn says he was told about the review 8 months later, but did not ask to see it. Neither did he ask to see it in May 2016, when Aluko first leveled claims of bullying and racial prejudice against Sampson. Glenn says he only read it last month when, as the Aluko allegations exploded into controversy, staff suggested he should. Glenn will tell MPs a duty of confidentiality prevented him asking about it. But for the man at the top of the FA not to have wanted to examine a sensitive investigation into a national team manager seems astonishing.